Everybody, today is Wednesday, April 18th, 2018.
No, it's not.
This is Emmett. It's not? What's today?
I don't know. I was just kidding.
No, Wednesday,
this is MMA
April
Junkie
18th,
Radio
2018.
Pre-show, before the show. Goes, Danny.
Yeah, that's me.
That's not what you were supposed to say.
What was I supposed to say again? I can't remember.
Something with
What
Waka Waka.
It's me, blue hair, Waka Waka.
Yeah, there you go.
I was supposed to say something like that. I messed up. Start over.
Isn't that Fozzie Bear?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah, see, I remember.
Fuzzy Bear, Waka Waka.
Which is the one with the phallic nose?
Gonzo.
Oh, yeah, that's it. So I'm sure that's not how the writers described him when they were. Okay. Well, you never know. That Henson was a crafty fella.
It was weird.
Yeah, he was.
Those kids never got let out of the basement.
What? What kids?
Or whatever they are, Muppets. Or
Oh, that is true.
Muppet. Are you talking about the Muppets or the Muppet Babies?
The
Muppet Babies was a freaky show.
Oh, yeah, with Ronald McDonald's dominatrix mother corralling
they
him
didn't
every
even
day.
have toys. They just
McDonald's.
forced them to use their imagination.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the lady had no face.
Yeah. I just imagined her as like Ronald McDonald's mother or something with those clown socks that they always portrayed her with.
2 minutes.
I always envisioned her as Mrs. Garrett from The Facts of Life.
Yeah, he did.
No?
I never watched The
know.
Facts of Life, so
You never watched that?
no.
How did you learn anything, dude?
What about Different Strokes?
No.
Is that the show where the bike shop owner
That's the one episode you remember?
molested 2 kids or something, right?
Come on, it's Dan. At
What?
this point, did you not expect him to remember that episode?
You never watched that
like-
either?
No.
What the hell did you watch?
The people are getting gold on the pre-show right now.
I mean, not that.
Sabrina the Teenage Witch or something?
I watched, yeah, and Step by Step and Family Matters.
I watched all that
and,
stuff.
Alright, we're off on the era then.
The problem
What-
is
what?
I watched
Coming up
stuff
in
I
a
wasn't
minute.
supposed to watch when I was young. I watched all the normal stuff, but my parents kind of ignored the rating system. So old Dan Tom just grew up watching The Exorcist and all these stuff at a very young age, and explains a lot about him. Explains a lot.
Exorcist.
I still won't watch that movie
What?
only because here's the reason why.
You never watched
My
it?
dad, from a very young age, my dad and I would watch scary movies, but he told me that was the only movie that he ever watched in the theater, and he was so scared it made him sweat, like profusely, like while he was watching it. So like I just have even if it's not like scary at all, I just in my head I'm just like, nope, never gonna watch that. That's
So
just the
you've
only
never
movie
seen
that
it?
I want.
What?
I mean, I've seen scenes from it, but I've never sat down and watched the whole movie because of that.
You got
Can
to.
you watch it?
Merrick.
I mean,
Coming up in 10.
now you're an
Stand
adult.
by. It's just a mental block. I don't want to watch it. Like, I've seen scenes. Stand by.
Danny's never seen The Exorcist because his dad says.
This is your captain speaking. We are making our descent into Las Vegas McCarran Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMA Junkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position because the descent is gonna be a little bit bumpy.
Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Gold. This is what we doing while we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yeah!
The MMA Junkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Can you dig it?
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space,
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
we've solidified our combat communication stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMA Junkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology, MMA Junkie Radio, commence transmission. Live from MMA Junkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goes.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMA Junkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me, as always, is the devious and dastardly Goes, our ace co-host. To my left, the fight analyst, Dan Tom. Back east, handling all the duties of producing, Danny Otto. What's up, guys?
What up?
Not much, man. Wednesday, halfway there to the weekend. More fights. Hump day as well. And Man U plays.
Yeah.
I saw that. Good call on the jersey.
Thanks.
I'm really good about knowing when they play now, by the way.
Man U?
Yeah.
Because of Goes tipping us off?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you adopt a team back in the day?
I'm open to be bought again. I'm not saying I'm
$2,
not,
right?
but
the going price?
I was originally bought by a best friend back in the day, and it's Chelsea. If we're going by your guys' league,
man.
But if there's any team that I actually could say like I knew guys for and watch, like I think like the '08, the World, I think '08 around that time, that World Cup run was I love Spain. They always played really pretty, and then when you got everybody on the same team, from Captain David Villa to Sergio Ramos on Real Madrid, I like Real Madrid.
You know some names.
You know, when that guy wasn't partying in the clubs and not playing up to his potential, that is. But you know, I like that kind of style of play. And then I had a best friend that was a real big Chelsea guy, and he liked Chelsea in Spain, so I kind of got indoctrinated into those. And
the bottom line is, right now, you have a team or you don't. Are you?
No, I don't know. Yeah, you know that's almost a decade ago what I just cited. So I guess that's pretty much.
It is a decade ago.
My contract's up, right, guys? I mean, so it's expired at that point. I don't even know the players.
What do you guys think Chandler's gonna do? He really was good at playing poker. He really was good at playing poker.
Yeah, he was.
And he did not divulge much. In fact, once the show was over, we kind of said, "Come on, give us a hint."
Full court press over here.
And he was not.
He might have given us a worse answer off the air than he did on the air.
I think so. He goes, "Come on, what?" Kind of like we hadn't discussed anything.
Yeah.
Kind of like we were supposed to say, "Oh yeah, no." So do you think the Rockies are going to win the West? You know, or I mean, like he was just like, "Come on, what? Like, what's going on here?" Couldn't get an answer out of him, but we've had the guy on the show many times. And he's always led me to believe that there is one thing that gets him going, and that's wondering if he's the best lightweight in the world. That question can only be answered in the UFC. He does get taken care of, though, by Bellator, and he is a loyal guy, so it wouldn't shock me if he stayed either. But he stayed once, and now we've seen a couple guys go to the UFC and have a little bit of success, not much. Marcin Held didn't have much success. Will Brooks didn't have much success. Eddie Alvarez had a lot of success. And coming over from the UFC, you know, Benson Henderson, Josh Tom. I mean, here's the thing. I was telling Juliet this on the way to, we walked the dog this morning. And I was trying to explain it to her because she's a casual fan. It's not that Bellator doesn't have lightweights. They probably have about 50, 40. Yeah. I don't know. UFC's got about 100. But the problem is Chandler is not going to fight anybody from 5 on down. He only did Gertz because it was in St. Charles, Missouri, right? Mm-hmm. And he was so close to the fight itself. He was the headline guy. He just couldn't pull out. It was his home state. But, he was supposed to fight Brett Primus. Didn't work out. But if you offer him Gertz any other time, he's not going to do it. You just heard him say, "You want me to fight Patricky again? I fought him twice." He already fought Benson Henderson. Josh Thompson has been tweeting something about Gilbert Melendez, and I don't know what might happen down the road. He hasn't been an active fighter. Who else is left? The younger, or not the younger, but the smaller pit bull, because they're twins. They're twins, right?
I don't know that they're twins.
I always thought they were twins, and one was just the 45 and the other guy was 55.
I thought one's older than the other.
Oh, okay. Well, the shorter in stature guy is the feisty one, who's been a world champion. And, he could do that one. I mean, I don't have no problem. It's only 10 pounds apart. One guy would be avenging the brother, but really you can count on one hand who will fight and who he won't fight. Primus, he can't fight. Primus he hasn't been healthy since last June. I'm sorry, Brett. Weren't you the guy that kicked Chandler in the legs? I thought he came out of that pretty healthy.
But
did he have what was the injury we didn't know about?
Did you see Benson's fight with Huerta? If he can rack one more like that, then I think you can sell him and Chandler going at it again.
But see, I don't want to see them going at it again. It doesn't do anything for me. Like, Chandler needs to either fight in title fights or super fights versus other champions, or just move on, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But he said something about security and family, which I respect. You know, he had his wife here. He just adopted a kid. I know they want to have more kids in the future. Maybe they just I know they just invested in property in Nashville when they moved and into a gym. But, you know, something drives that guy, and it's being great. And now if Bellator could supply him with other lightweights, then it wouldn't be as big of a problem. But those other lightweights, they either pick each other off, or guys get injured, or they just or he's already fought them. Bellator's got to recruit more for him. Otherwise, you know, that might give him another reason for leaving.
Yeah, no, you make a great outline. Like I was going to kind of bring it up yesterday, but you really outlined it perfectly, where kind of what you're saying now with the Bellator, where you never want to attach a title like gatekeeper to a guy as great as Michael Chandler, but by what you're saying, which is true, you know, this is a factual lineup. You just kind of did outline there, and he could become a gatekeeper by default, to where not only have we seen all the matches and he beat the guys, then what's left? It's not that Bellator can't create new guys. In fact, they're doing a pretty good job at it. There's some sleepers there at 155, but that's the problem. What if, you know, it's going to get to the point where that could have happened, you know, 2 fights ago with Goiti Yamauchi. You know, that guy's a real talented cat. You know, that's not Michael Chandler just, you know, pumping up his own win. That guy is a real sleeper, a real talent. You know, it's going to be one of these guys who knock him off, who doesn't have the name value. So you're going to get knocked off by a young guy without the name value, without the paycheck, without the exposure, and again, without the question answered. So it makes you look at the UFC, and with the UFC thing, it's like, you got to play the cards right. I like how you brought up, you know, Gilbert Melendez. Like, he was an example where it took him a minute, but he did it at the right time. Like, if you look at the miles, like, yeah, he didn't get the obviously success that he would have wanted. But if you look at pound for pound the deal he got and the mileage he got from that deal, great, right? Or
he had 2 or 3 back-to-back deals, man. He caught Strikeforce at the right time, the UFC at the right time. I mean, but he rolled the dice,
right?
Because the UFC was this close to going, yeah, go ahead and go to Bellator. You know what I mean? But instead, he got it all.
Eddie still had a title run in him, which is kind of funny to bring in Gaethje to the picture, but since he's a hot topic and his style and longevity has been the topic this week, I mean, you look at that too. I still have a lot of optimism for Gaethje, but I'm just saying, to play devil's advocate here, what do the contrarians or the critics of Gaethje say? What do they say? They say, oh, and even people like before he got to the UFC, oh my gosh, is he given these wars? Is he giving us the best miles here in these divisions before he actually gets to the UFC? And there's been a lot of cases like that. I'm not trying to pick on Gaethje here, but it's just because it's an apropos topic. So you don't want to stay in Bellator too long and give your best performances there. Like, he already gave us amazing performances in Bellator that you know, Chandler did against Alvarez. You know, let's see these other ones over here now, maybe. You know.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Well, let's talk about today's guest. Today's guest will have Daniel Straus, also from Bellator MMA, former featherweight champ, and he had a motorcycle accident. We all know that. So we just want to check up on him and see how he's doing. You know, he posted on social media, F you to the doctor that told him to never walk again. He's already been going through rehab, able to fight again, if he will be able to fight again. Rather than assume, go off what other people say, I just like going straight to the horse. We also talked to Yancy Medeiros, who just signed on to fight Mike Perry. I had led people to believe, only because I was looking at social media on the Miocic-Cormier card, which, by the way, if you're wondering, how's that coming along? GG, another one in the works, but it looks like we'll move him to. Now, what that does is create pockets for you to call in, 866-522-2846, talk about the latest news in our sport of mixed martial arts. And as you all know, we do drift off and talk about other stuff from time to time, but you got to make it interesting. Otherwise, we're going to bring it right back to mixed martial arts. Are you guys done with Gaethje and Poirier, whether it's what's next for them or the other 13 fights on that card, Condit, Oliveira, Izzy, Vittori, anything has been put to bed, or is there anything else that's lingering that you'd like to address?
I'm ready to put it to bed.
Yeah, I mean, unless something with the callers, you know, didn't get a chance to bring up, I'm good.
Good. So Kevin Lee and Edson Barbosa, you put up your story, your breakdown of the fight card. Expand on it a little bit. Tell me ways in which Edson Barbosa can win this fight and ways in which Kevin Lee can win this fight.
Well, I think it's a little easier to kind of, you know, the odds are favoring Kevin Lee slightly, I think, for a reason, because I think the pathway there is a little easier to see. You know, we've seen it from not just pressure, but wrestling threats, fight off pressure, and you know, his counter wrestling has gotten better. He's been doing the wrestling rounds in New Jersey through the circuits that, you know, through Rutgers, you know, and all the rounds that Frankie Edgar makes, and Edson's putting in those miles too, and it's showing. You know, he was able to defend shuck off over 2 takedowns against Khabib Nurmagomedov in the 3rd round when he's tired, when he was getting beat down. He was still able to do that, and everybody remembers him getting beat down. That's kind of like it's still what I remember, but he was still defending shots. So there's a path for him there, but he's just going to have to work hard for it. And Kevin Lee's going to have to be careful changing levels, you know, not just for the knee that we saw him connect with Beneil Dariush, Edson has, but even those inside leg kicks can really kind of chamber to that knee, and that's why Edson, if you look, he's been throwing the inside leg kick a lot more. Remember, he tagged up Anthony Pettis with that pretty good. So Edson has a lot more than just his spinning kicks or his leg kicks. So anybody foolish enough to write Edson off, please don't. Just based on a pick or the betting line. He's live.
Can Edson survive if Kevin gets the takedown? Which Kevin, at some point, he will get the takedown, and it's pretty conventional. He'll scoop you up and then slam you. And then at some point, it seems like he's got 2 paths. One is I'm just going to advance my positions, and 2 is I'm going to let a scramble take place so that I can take your back. But it seems like everything is guided more towards taking the back versus ground and pound, or at least maybe that's what resides here.
Lately, it has.
Yeah, no,
With
he's really
Barbosa,
good. Yeah.
has he shown you enough in your study that he can survive Kevin Lee on the ground? Let's say Kevin gets this fight with 3 minutes left on the clock. How much trouble is Barbosa in?
Well, basically, the timestamp I put on it, I mean, it seems so foolish to put a timestamp on a fight, as we all know. Anything can happen through any minute. But
I say that only because you know how a lot of times wrestlers will get the takedown in the last 30 seconds to seal the round.
Yes, no,
forget about that one. I'm not too worried about who gets the 10-9 or who may make that move. I'm worried more about like when I see people get taken down, especially when it's grappler versus striker, the first thing I do is look at the clock and see, how much time does this guy or gal have to work with? Or on the flip side, how much time do they need to survive? But go ahead.
I think he's going to go past the first round. I think both guys can survive each other's strengths and threats in that first round. But more importantly, it's kind of a traditional timestamp, even when a guy's in shape. Even if it's a guy's in shape and he's good at defending takedowns, if he's having a fight wrestling for a solid round, if we're going to run mathematical percentages, that percentage, no matter where it was in the first place, just shifted in their favor, because all that blood would go to their arms. It's, you know, that's a couple decimals off their reaction time. That's a couple decimals off their power. That's a couple decimals off their targeting and the hand-eye coordination.
The video game
yes,
bar.
exactly. So that's why. So I believe. I don't have it in front of me, but I believe I put if Edson doesn't find his shot by the end of the first round, then it's going to be Kevin Lee's game, because Edson, to his credit, if he does get taken down, I don't know if he's going to give that sub right away. Like, you're right. Kevin Lee's excellent at taking the back. That's why I picked him over Chiesa, and Chiesa is one of the best back takers in the division, right? Like, Kevin Lee's no joke, but to Barbosa's credit, even when he's been out-grappled and mauled by guys like Khabib, if you look, he's really good about not giving his back. He's got a good butterfly guard. He'll use that to kind of create space. He loves the cage, so he always treats the cage like a cheese grater and just grates his back like a cheese grater, and just so guys can't get to his back. He's good at killing space. So I don't think he's going to let Lee get to his kill zone right away. I think Lee's going to have to cook him a bit. But I like that game. That's a more consistent game plan to lean on, a grappling-based game plan, than a guy having to rely on landing that shot on the way in.
One more. What if Kevin tries a couple takedowns? Let's say 3.
Yeah.
And they all get stuffed.
Mm-hmm.
How much trouble is Kevin Lee in if he's not able to get to the ground and this becomes a kickboxing match?
Big trouble, because even though Kevin Lee's striking is improving from fight to fight, and I don't think he gets enough credit for that, it's really improving. But even though the critics can overblow, he's getting dropped or whatever, that could be a bit overblown. But to be fair, if you really go back and look at Kevin Lee's footage, he has, even in victories and defeat, he's been rocked a bit, and a lot of those come from left hands. When I was saying before about Edson Barbosa's boxing, that main shot he's really been leaning on is the left hook, and left hooks, have been Lee's common culprit. So if this fight remains standing like George's, that scenario, which is very true, like I just said, he was able to defend Khabib Nurmagomedov in that third round, and survive after a beating. That left hook's going to be live,
And that's kind of what I was trying to ask Eve yesterday, and I don't know if I was wording it right, but I was trying to see what he thought as far as like where the troubles lie if each guy isn't able to get going. They're each trying to drag each other into – they both have versions of trying to drag each other into deep waters. Kevin's is obviously with the grappling.
Uh-huh.
Not that he can't strike. We know he can. And Edson's is with the striking. And, again, not that he can't grapple, but they both prefer certain,
right, yeah,
certain spots within the cage. I don't think I got it right with Eve. And then I threw him the other question about the
first
UFC.
He thought it was me.
He thought it was Goes. He probably thought, what the fuck is going on here? Am I being set up? But Eve is great. He told Danny he'll be in Vegas soon. Hopefully we'll get him here in studio.
We just had him in studio,
Eve?
like a couple months ago, right? But I think that was the first time we've ever had him in studio. And we've been interviewing him since day one.
No, you know what, Goes? It was either him or Dean. Sounds terrible because I'm not trying
It
to say
wasn't
they're
Dean.
all looking like. But one
hates
of those
that, by the
guys
way.
popped in quickly about 5-6 years ago.
Dean.
And it had to do with a show. Was it Dean?
Yeah.
Okay. But Lee and Barbosa, from your end, they have high stakes here, man.
Hmm?
Whoever loses has lost 2 in a row. They're, I wouldn't say going to get forgotten about, but
it's worse for
they're
Edson
just
than it is for Lee.
What will happen to the loser of this fight? And I'm trying to make it a little bit more compelling for the audience and even the hardcores. The loser of this fight probably won't even get a whiff at a title shot unless they have to sub in last minute, probably till late 2019. I dare say maybe 2020.
I think
And
it'd be it for Edson.
Possibly, you never know.
Yeah, I think Kevin has more lives.
But maybe not completely it, because think of how many times we wrote off Michael Bisping, and finally, like in his 25th fight, he was there at the right time, and then boom, he won a world title. But you're right, it won't look good. Because think about it, guys. Whoever loses here, best case scenario, they're not even fighting till like maybe September, and they'll be fighting against someone else coming off a loss. But think about how much of a play is being made towards Poirier being next or Alvarez being next.
Mm-hmm.
So one of them is going to be next. Now, around the time that one of those guys is next, Ferguson is halfway through being healthy again. And sometime in late 2018 or early 2019, Ferguson's going to say, yo, I'm 13-1 in the UFC. I was a former interim champ. Give me mines. You know what I mean? And he'll be shuttled to the front of the queue. And then how about Conor McGregor, the most popular athlete ever? At some point, if he comes back and it's not him versus Nate Diaz, but for whatever reason he just wants – he could wake up right now and call Dana White and goes, man, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I'm just pissed off. I want to fuck somebody up. Put me in a title fight against someone at 155 pounds, and Dana White will do it. He can come back at any time. So those guys are going to be battling Ferguson's comeback, McGregor's comeback, and let's not forget the other names that were mentioned last week. Felder's got a little bit of a win streak going. Iaquinta, in a loss, his stock went up a little bit. So those guys, Pettis and Chiesa, I mean, yeah, they suffered their losses, but if they come back with any form of a win, how about all the Eastern Europeans out there that are like 5-1 in the UFC that a lot of people don't know about, and the Brazilians that are kind of just quietly doing their thing. Makachev, I think, is 4-1.
Taizamov is the guy that
Arabek Taizamov's another guy. You know what I mean? A lot of these guys are going to be making some noise. So this is a really, really important fight. And further to that, if you win, you better make everyone think about, or you better give a good post-fight speech and tell everybody why you're the man and why you should be next, and start planting that seed.
I think Conor is, believe it or not, in a good spot, and I think guys like Felder are in a good spot, the guys that are a little bit out looking in.
Yeah.
Because that core group that's just beating the shit out of each other in the last year and a half, I would invite them to have those wars. Clean yourselves out, and then I'll just waltz in and pick up after all the leftovers. That's what I'd be saying if I was Paul Felder. If I'm Conor McGregor, I'm thinking, go ahead and have your wars, boys. Go out there and go at it. Put mileage on your body, and then I'll come in and pick up the scraps.
I agree, but I think that could be also the problem too. And I like that you mentioned Paul Felder, because Paul Felder and I think Kevin Lee, if he wins here, are going to be in that similar situation. The problem is you got names like, I suggested Anthony Pettis for guys like Taizamov. You use them to you parlay that fiasco with the McGregor incident at 223, and you fill in the blanks at these struggling regional cards to help promote these guys. You give them the bumps that Cerrone gave Till, right? But the problem is those guys don't want to do that, and even guys like Alvarez, where, I agree with Goes. I think Kevin Lee is more lives. That's a perfect way to put it, right? Because he has more people he can call out. He already has drama kind of with Khabib because Kevin Lee was one of the original people calling out with Khabib when no one wanted to fight him. But Kevin Lee is guys like Alvarez or Pettis he can call out. The problem is, are these Alvarez and Pettis guys, are they going to want to fight, or are they going to, hold on to their ranking spot like you see a lot of these guys right now? They don't want to. The contract's got to be right. The opponent's got to be.
Money's better.
Me.
I only have to fight twice a year.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna go out there and just make a mistake either. So I understand that aspect of the game. It exists.
The non-Joe Silva era. Wink, wink.
Yeah, a little bit. I want to make sure I'm not missing a name. And how about James Vick?
Yeah, there's another. Oh, yeah, that's perfect. Right there with
the
it. Yeah, right there with those guys.
That guy's not going to put up with it pretty soon, and pretty soon the matchmaker is just going to pick one of these guys and go, sorry.
You're not going to have a choice.
Yes.
Sorry, yeah, you have no choice. You have to fight this guy.
Perfect guy to bring up.
At some point, his record alone is just going to command the respect that Tony's does. And how about if Nate were to come back at any point? Look how great he looked against Michael Johnson, makes that call out with Conor McGregor. Next thing you know, he's a rich man. Now, I know he doesn't consume himself with titles. He wants to get paid. But, again, at some point, he is going to come back and he is going to fight. And it will be a high-profile name, even if it's not Conor McGregor. And if he wins that fight, he keeps moving up the charts. So, again, not to put any more pressure on Edson Barbosa and Kevin Lee, but, boy, is this an important fight coming up, man, for both guys. Because otherwise, title aspirations, they can go on hold for about 18 months.
Well, I think the other reason why one guy wouldn't damage as much as the other is whenever you have a guy like Edson Barbosa, he does speak English, but a lot of people don't really know that because he doesn't really do very many interviews around that. So if you don't do that, then you need to talk a lot of shit like Khabib, right? You need to go out there, you got to be tweeting left and right, doing those type of things. So a guy like that, if he were to lose to Kevin Lee, I think we would all assume that loss probably took place on the ground, whether it was a ground and pound or maybe a submission. And if you look at his record, those are the type of losses that we're used to seeing from him. So I think it would be more of a he's just not going to get there if he hasn't gotten there by now. As where a Kevin Lee, if he suffered a loss, if you get knocked out by Barbosa, which is what I think a lot of us would assume would have happened, a lot of people, that's happened to a lot of people. You can bounce back from that, I think, a little bit quicker. He's a younger guy. He talks shit. I think his road back is a little different now.
And both of them have roads. Both of them have roads to the title. But Kevin's got a path to whatever is one level less than superstardom. So obviously, Conor McGregor is superstardom. Ronda Rousey was superstardom. John Jones was superstardom. So I realize that Kevin's not there. But why do you think Kevin's getting paid $250,000 now? Remember before he was fighting for 40 and 40? There's metrics out there. That guy is popular, and I think if he wins, he can be a star. Again, not to those guys' levels, but remember, man, once you start selling about 500,000 pay-per-views, the UFC thinks very highly of you. And something tells me the UFC has seen some sort of a trajectory with that guy because of his youth, because he can talk, that he can go out there and be a star. So it would really be catastrophic for him.
Punching Chiesa might have helped a little bit.
But probably, man.
Dude, that was dollar signs. When it happened, yeah, it was tragic. You don't want to see it. I'm sorry, but those were dollar signs.
Yeah. All right, we got to take a break just to stay in line here. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Stay close. We'll be right back. We'll be talking to former Bellator featherweight champion Daniel Straus. Atlanta's back in the game.
Charm, compassion, common sense. These guys have none of that. You listen to them, so you're no better. I am awesome, though. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
The nation is mourning the passing of former First Lady Barbara Bush. For continuing coverage, please tune in to Fox News Channel 114, MSNBC Channel 118, CNN Channel 116, and POTUS Channel 124, along with Patriot Channel 125. I'm not sure why I said 114. Fox News Channel is 114. There you go. All right, folks. Our first guest of the day, Daniel Straus, a former world champion at Bellator MMA in the featherweight division. And he joins us now on MMA Junkie Radio. What's up, Daniel? How you doing?
What's going on, man? How you guys doing?
Good. How about you?
I'm good, man. I'm grinding, trying to get back to where I need to be, but I'm good, loving life and just venturing on.
Right. Daniel, I know, it was public knowledge that 4 months ago you did have an accident, and obviously Junkie Nation are huge fans of yours. We've had you many times on the show.
Thank you.
But out of respect for the privacy of what happened, I think other than sending you a message, hey, thinking about you, hoping the best, there really hasn't been much contact. So I understand that. However, it was really inspiring to see a lot of your social media posts, just seeing you back, doing rehab and some training and being in the gym. So, that was my reasoning for reaching out again. And I also wanted you to know that a lot of people do ask us, seriously, how is Daniel doing? And please pass on our best. So I guess that was why I pushed to have you on. I'm glad you're doing this interview.
Well, first off, thank you guys. I've always been big fans of you guys, and I've always appreciated the love and tried to give it back. And, I thank all you guys and the fans for all the support and all the well wishes and the prayers. It definitely means a lot. And, everyone knows I've been going through, a little rough time with the accident. I haven't really got into the specifics of the accident with people. Mm-hmm. But, I came away with a gnarly injury. I had some compressed disc, spinal. I had some bulging discs in my C3, C4, all the way from my T1 to T3, T4. I lost a lot of muscle in my legs. I've been going through it through the ringer. So, the accident has been, definitely one thing that set me back. But, like I said, man, I've been continuing to grind and nothing's stopping me. I'm staying in the gym. I've had the best, people around me to keep pushing me and, my coaches and, training partners and everyone else. And, even fans have all reached out to me and wishing me well, wanting to see me back in there. And it's nothing but motivating for me. Everyone knows I've had a hell of a story in the fight game, and, this is just adding to it. So, I look forward to getting back and continuing my journey in the sport.
Mm-hmm. So Daniel, again, the accident isn't as much of a concern for me. Like you said, the specifics, but I did want to say, going off what you've publicly put on social media, just to follow up on that, the accident that happened, doctors were concerned that you may not even walk. That's what you were told, apparently at some point, because I saw the FU from you to the doctor that said you couldn't do it. But can you talk a little bit about that when you first heard it, and then how soon after you knew, wait a minute, that guy's full of shit. I'm Daniel Straus. I will walk again.
As soon as it came out of his mouth, man, as soon as it came out of his mouth, I knew he was bullshit just because, knowing me how it was. What I can tell you is from the accident, right after the accident, I was lodged up under a guardrail. I had no feeling. I was completely, paralyzed. And that remained for a little bit because of the issues I had in my neck and, in my spinal cord and whatnot. And, shortly after getting to the hospital, they're like, hey, we need to go ahead and do surgery. We need to do surgery. We need to do it now. And I kept trying to explain to them, like, I'm not doing surgery yet. So, I have another physician, tell me that, hey, this is what I need to do because of what I do. And, I try to run it down to them, all the doctors. There's a few doctors. I try to run it down to them what I did for a living, and all of them was like, you can forget it. You won't be going back. It's not likely even that you'll be walking normal or walking at all. And, like I said, the moment that he told me that, it just really, like, clicked, and it was like, fuck you. You know what I mean? You're not going to sit here and tell me what I'm not going to do when you're not even in my shoes. You know what I mean? So it was just one of those things that just really, in an odd way, it was the motivation I needed to turn, everything around for me, to grind harder, work harder, be a little bit more smarter. But, anybody out there anybody that's listening to this, if you've ever had anybody tell you something that you can or cannot do and you know in yourself that you can or cannot do it, just do it. Don't listen to anybody. I mean, people say that they're, they're doctors and they're physicians and they know what they're talking about. They don't know shit. They only know what they've been told. You know what I mean? They can't. And, don't get me wrong, a lot of doctors are helpful, but, when it comes to people like me, people that have a strong mind, a strong will, you can't sit there and tell a guy you can't, It only makes them frustrated, and it's really, like I said, it's really motivated me and has given you all, the chance to see where I am now, because had it been like, oh, you'll be fine, I'm pretty sure I would have took it last. I'd have been like, hey, I'll be back, but being told that I won't be able to just has really made me go hard in the paint. So, yeah, when I woke up, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead, sir.
I woke up and for the first, 3 days, I couldn't move anything. Couldn't move my legs, my hand. A couple of days after that, I started wiggling a few fingers, wiggling a few toes, and slowly, everything was just slowly coming back. So with that, it's been a lot of nerve damage, a lot of this, a lot of that, but nothing that is physically stopping me from being back in the cage. Nothing that I can't work on.
There you have it. So we're fast forwarding here. He was told he couldn't walk. He's walking. He was told he wouldn't be able to train to fight. He's been training. He's been rehabbing. And what I'm seeing, it looks like you're in the rehab/training phase. But, Daniel, you're telling us here today that you will be able to get through a camp and fight again at some point in your life?
Not some point. I'm looking for this year, man.
Wow.
I'm looking for this year.
That's cool to hear, man. That
I'm
really
really
is.
looking. Yeah, thank you. I'm really looking forward to this year because, more than just fighting mentally, I need it. You know what I mean? For myself, I need to get back. And it's one of those things that, all fighters know, when it comes to having to push yourself, you have to get in a certain position. And I'm in that position now, and I have no choice but to push myself. So I don't think about maybe fighting one day or down the line. I told them, they told me maybe if I was, it'd be in a couple of years. I told them it'd be in 6 months. So here we are about to hit, the end of April and May, and I'm already sparring. I'm already wrestling. I'm doing everything I shouldn't be doing. So, for me, it just looks like a matter of time. It's nothing but a matter of time till I step back in the cage.
Have you seen any of those
and not
doctors?
Just step back in the cage.
Have you seen any of those doctors, and have you said anything along the lines of, what's up now, partner? The ones that doubted you?
Yeah. There was one doctor that seen, and we at first had a couple words about it, and, he didn't like what I had to say, and I didn't like what he had to say, but, out of all the respect, we've had a chance to talk, and, he told me, hey, you've proved me wrong, and you've proved other doctors wrong, and that's one of the most things that I've been able to hold on to be able to prove someone wrong, and not only prove them wrong, but them acknowledge it. It's one thing to prove somebody wrong. It's another thing for them to tell you, hey, listen, not only was I wrong, I'm more supportive of you than I ever was.
That's
so
awesome.
Like I said, couple months, and I'm about to be racking off.
Everybody's learning, even a doctor who's spent years. You know, you just don't know. You are going to come across certain individuals that can push boundaries, you know, and it seems like you have. All right, I've been a hog here with all my questions. Let me turn it over to Goes. He's got a couple for you. What do you have for Daniel Straus, Goes?
Daniel, in that recovery and everything you were doing physically, how much of that was mentally, just telling yourself from day one that you were going to gut through all that? Because I'm sure you had your bad days with pain and all that the same way everyone else would, but it seems like your mental state from day one was just positive.
First off, what up, brother? How you been?
What's up, man? Long time.
Other than that, man, it's been very mental. You know, waking up on days where, it's just like having a camp. You wake up, you don't want to go to the gym. When I'm waking up, I have to go to the gym. I have to go to physical therapy. I have to keep telling myself, like, hey, you are getting better. There's been times where, when I first started physical therapy, which, real quick, shout out to NeuroFit 360. They have done a tremendous – Guy has done a tremendous job with me, and all the PTs over there has really helped me get back on my feet. But, going to PT and just, not being able to physically see, how far you're coming, and everyone else can see it, but I can't. So that's been mentally challenging. The defaults that I have as far as my leg, my balance, that's been mentally challenging. Things have crumbled around me. That has been mentally challenging. So it isn't just one thing. It isn't like I just went through the accident and like, oh, I got to repair from the accident. Like, my whole life has been turned upside down because of this incident. So mentally, I've been me. You know what I mean? I've taken it with, a shrug on the shoulder and kept grinding. It hurts some days, and some days I'm sad, some days I want to cry, the other days I want to laugh, and the other days, like you said, I'm sticking up a finger saying, fuck you, and I'm keep grinding, So mentally, it's only I put myself where I need to be.
Daniel, when everything's going great, we all have friends and family's always there. But it seems like when the shit hits the fan, it's good to see like who the people are that stick around. Can you maybe give us a few names of some of your biggest supporters, people that have stuck through you through thick and thin?
Well, for one, good friend of mine, him and his wife, big fans of you guys, Junior and Tracy. They live in Chicago, and they've been nothing but supporters. They call me all the time, write me, how you guys doing, everything like that. So it's a big love from them. Again, like my coaches, Tommy, Henry Hoof, even old coaches, Mike Brown and other coaches, and, they've all reached out to me. As far as here, I have my perfecting athletes, Michelle and Paulina. I have to send a big, big, big thank you to them. And anybody that's listening, please go check them out. Not that they just do things for you in the sport, they do things for you outside the sport. And when I say outside the sport, it's more the family. They give a fuck. They care. You know what I mean? And they've shown that. They spent countless hours in the hospital with me and, trying to take me places, do things with me, and it's been a big help. And, other than that, it's just been the normal supporters. I've Bellator. Big shout out to them, Scott, Mike, Rich, all those guys over there. They've been nothing but hella supportive. You know what I mean? And it's just made me, like I said, want to do nothing but, get back and show everybody what I'm made of. So, the support has come from a lot of people. Yeah, you see a lot of people fall off, but I haven't even paid attention to those people. I'm only here for, the ones that care, the ones that are here to help, and the ones that I can help as well.
We have our other co-host, Dan Tom, here with us, the fight analyst. What do you have for Daniel Straus, Dan?
Well, it's always nice to watch a fellow Daniel, do work, and then to be able to speak to you now and hear these things is just is really inspiring to me personally, Daniel. So thank you for sharing, and first of all, and coming on and updating us, because yes, a lot of us did want to hear that. But my question, and not to harp on the mental stuff, but it is true. I mean, thankfully, me or the host here, George, didn't have to go through anything like you did. But we did have to go through an invasive surgery, and even an invasive surgery, just a more normal surgery, makes the average Joe realize, you know, the things you're talking about here as far as recovering and the importance of the mental aspect. Now, not to revisit it in a negative at all, but, you know, for people that aren't familiar with your career, Daniel, you started off wrestling. And if someone were to, you know, Google your name and read up on your wrestling career, they'll read a lot of accolades, they'll read a lot of positives, but they might see words like, you know, controversial at times or this or that. Then, of course, you know, not to get too much into it, after you graduated, you know, there was some trouble with the law. But again, not talking about these things on a negative, but were there some positives? Because you were able to work through adversity and do some really great things. Was there positives from your past that are coming in handy now, Daniel?
I mean, all my negatives were positives. Look where it has brought me to. You know what I mean? It has brought me here to talk to you right now. So nothing in my life, whether up or down, has been negative. You know, I may not have liked it at the time, but it's brought me to here. In 3 years, when you're talking about, God damn, this motherfucker's a world champ again, it'll be a positive. You feel me? So it's like, you know, a lot of the negatives are what we consider negatives. You know, yeah, it's affected me, but I haven't let it. I haven't really, you know, deemed myself as looking at it as a negative. Yeah, I was arrested. Yeah, I went to jail. And when I came home, I knew I had no other way but to go hard in fighting. That's a positive. You know what I mean? I knew that I had to go hard. I put everything I had into the sport. You know, I broke my hand. I knew I had to get back. That was a negative. You know what I mean? But, you know, I fought my way back to fighting, and I got back in the ring. Fought. I didn't win, but I fought. You know what I mean? And I fought my heart out. This accident, like I said, is the same thing. Yeah, this accident happened. It sucks. You know what I mean? But this is nothing but making me stronger, mentally, physically, emotionally. You know what I mean? It's just making me it's the story of Dan Straus. You know what I mean? Like you said, it has all different type of cryptic words in it. Controversial, asshole, all type of shit. But the one thing they cannot say is that I was a warrior, that I would not give up. You know what I mean? Like, they'll never be able to write a book that says this guy completely just did not give a fuck and gave up. You'll never see that in the book. You know what I mean? You'll never see that in the story, in the movie, or anything. So it is what it is. You know what I mean? I can't cry about it. I can't fucking be mad about it. The only thing I can do is smile and keep it moving. You know, if this is what, you know, it has to be, then this is what it has to be. You know, name another handful of fighters that have gone through what I've gone through, or other fighters that have, you know, similar situations and bounced back or been back on the top. You know, you won't be able to find them many, but I'm going to be that one. You know what I mean? That's the mentality that I set. That's the mentality that I'm going to go chase after.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, and I would expect nothing less from you. You know, just one quick add-on to that point. It may suck what you're going through, but you're right. You know, it's people like yourself that go through those adversities that make for the most strongest, inspirational, and most interesting stories, man. So, but one last thing. I was recently doing an interview with Nick Newell, and kind of after his last fight with the whole talk, and kind of you know, trying to you know, break down the myths of, you know, disabilities and fighters, and how it's kind of not what we think. And you know, we were talking about, you know, quote unquote, the people that say he has limitations. And one of the things I brought up to him is like, any fighter that's been fighting for, you know, 9 or 10 years, kind of where the mark you're on, Daniel, you're going to have limitations. Everybody has injuries. The most healthiest, most successful fighters that we think are healthy, and you know, they don't go into their fights 100%. There are things that make you adapt your game that you can't do those moves that you could do in your younger days. So by that sense, everybody kind of adapts. Is that kind of how you look at it with the adversity that's put before you now on your way back into the ring?
Of course. You know, even when I first started this, I've never been in this sport and have been 100% healthy, mainly because I've been doing sports before I got into sport. So I've always had some type of setback that has made me have to change how I fought or get better in another area, you know, the way I fought. So, you know, coming in with injuries and being in the game for so long, like, it's to be expected, you know, and it's the guys that, like, aren't willing to quit, you know, because of time. You know, time isn't going to tell me when to stop. I'll tell time when I'm ready to stop, you know what I mean? And no, I'm not going to be that guy that's the Bob Sapp getting beat up every day, you know what I mean, for no reason. You know, I'm going to be that guy that's going to, you know, stop when I'm ready on top, you know. But the physical parts and the problems that that we go through as fighters. The new guys that are listening to this, please believe you guys are going to be hurting too. You know what I mean? In 10 years, you're going to be hurting. You're going to be feeling it. You're going to wake up, back hurt, neck hurt, feet hurt. You know what I mean? And it's just part of the game. You just got to get through it. Either you want to get through it or you don't. And if you don't, take your ass to the sideline so people like me can keep going.
Daniel, hey, man, we got to get moving on here. But it's been a great catch-up with you, and it's great to hear you in these great spirits. Keep us up to date, and let us know when that training camp starts and when that first fight will be there, man. Junkie Nation will be rooting hard for you. So thanks again for the time.
No, thank you, guys. I love you guys. I appreciate everything.
All right, take care. We'll see you.
Okay.
All right, there you have it, folks. Former two-time Bellator featherweight champion Daniel Straus also won a couple regional belts and a Bellator tournament. He's no joke, man. He's been one of the top featherweights for a long time, and it doesn't sound like this setback is going to stop him from continuing to compete at a high level. We got to take this break. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM, Rush 93. Stay close. We'll be right back.
They were forged from the same ball sack, but act as though they've never met. They are the brothers Garcia, Gorgeous George and Goes.
The SEC now has a 24/7 home on Sirius XM. Hear from hosts like Peter Burns, Chris Childers, and more on Sirius XM SEC Radio, Channel 374, and the Sirius XM app. We have about 90 seconds. Mike from Florida, Gage from Fort Myers, Florida, Hal from Chicago. Do I try and squeeze one of these guys in, or just get to this break and be able to really chillax with all three of them?
Get to the break.
Get to the break. All right, that's what we're going to do. Yeah, rather than force one of you guys to hurry, we'll do that. So thanks, guys, for holding. We really had a good time catching up with Daniel Straus. Therefore, we weren't able to get to you guys before this first hour's up. But we have time because in the second hour, our next guest will be Yancy Medeiros, but he's way at the end. So plenty of time to take not only you three, but another 6 if you want to call in. 866-522-2846 Would love to hear from some new callers. I promise we'll get to you all. We'll talk about whatever you want in the sport of mixed martial arts and outside, including the Vegas Golden Knights sweeping the LA Kings. How about that? An expansion team sweeping the a side you can say has had some great measure of success in the last few years.
A lot of their same players are from their championship.
They're favored to win the cup now.
Good for
Apparently,
them.
I just
Are
saw.
they really?
They just saw a tweet. Yeah. The odds makers released them as a favorite to win the Stanley Cup.
Also, an update on a possible UFC TV deal. You know how you all heard ESPN and NBC? Looks like it might be Fox and ESPN now. Who knows what's true and who knows what it isn't, but we'll tell you about what we've heard, the latest with that. So stay close, and we'll be right back after this break.
Las Vegas turning
our friend from Lubbock. Who this?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Yeah.
Do you know Danny Okers? You must know.
I know.
Who is that?
It's Wolf Mother.
Ah.
Yes, of course.
You know who Wolf Mother is, huh?
I do know who Wolf Mother was, and I'm familiar
Their
with them.
first album was incredible. This was off their first album, but basically the music today is decades, and this is 2000 to 2010, and this was really big in the
good
year
for
that
them.
the
Here's what I
first
wanted to
Hangover
say.
came out.
It started off kind of like the Who-ish, you know? And I was like, are we going somewhere with this, or am I going to have to jump in? And then all of a sudden it hit a nice beat. And in the end, I kind of like it, so I might be in. I might ask Danny for more information just to play this band, and that was a good little debut. Whoever chose this, great call.
Ever picture George saying, "Alexa, play Wolf Mother"?
I was gonna say Mother Wolf. It's Wolf Mother.
Is it Wolf Mother? It is, right?
What is it, Danny?
Wolf Mother.
Wolf Mother. Huh? That wasn't so bad. All right, let's take some calls. These savages have been waiting.
Yeah.
It just so happens that the order that they called, I also asked Danny privately. I go, hey, which one of these guys are your favorite? And it actually matched up. So let's go with Mike in Florida. What's up, Mike? How you doing?
What's up, man? It's Rick Sanchez, a.k.a. Mike from Florida. How y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
We're doing shitty, a.k.a. great.
All right, sounds good. I used to be a really, really big Joanna fan, right? But she just lost again to Rose. And in her post-fight presser, she said that she feel like that she won. And she just seems really cocky, saying stuff like the other girls need to bow down and stuff like that. She also released a statement saying that Dana White was upset about the decision and that Rose's coach said that she actually won the fight. I'm just wondering, how do you guys feel about her being such a sore loser, and does that affect your guys' opinion on her as a fan?
I think it'd be a little different for me if, because she was kind of gangster from the get-go, it's just something I sort of expected. And it's something that I would probably get over easily because she entertains me. You know, like she's not the one that's going to tell you I'm going to be here like Paige Van Zandt with a smile on my face and all that. She kind of is who she is, but it's been like that since day one. You know, like a lot of people kind of come at Colby Covington and they go, well, you weren't like that a year ago or 2 years ago. With Joanna, she's been kind of like that since day one, so I tolerate it. I could see why people don't like it, though, especially because, you know, Rose has done this twice. She does deserve her respect, but I have a feeling behind closed doors they shake hands, and I think she does give her that respect.
You do?
I think so. Behind closed doors, yeah.
So all this is just a front?
Maybe a little bit of it.
I think so. Yeah, like you said, it's interesting to follow her career, and I'm usually on the side of like, put yourself out there, talk shit, this, that, whatever. But at some point, it just has to make sense or not make sense, and what she's saying now just doesn't really make sense. I mean, look, if she was frustrated and felt she won the fight, great. You say something that lasts about a sentence, maybe two, but all that other stuff that goes along with it, you have removed yourself from reality. If you think that the media is going to be sitting there with their notepads, nodding their heads, going, yeah, man, we feel you. Yeah, those are great points. Yeah, you know, and that fans are going to go on social media and go, yeah, no, we get it, ex-champ. Yeah. Fuck no one's going to give her that because we all saw the fight too, you know, and, you know, and that's where I think she's just a little bit out of touch. And it's disappointing because when we first met her, it seemed like she was someone that gets it. Gets the game. Win or lose, gets it. Easier to say when you're winning, you know what I mean? But still, we've covered enough athletes to know that you can still get it, get the sport, but also take defeat when it happens. And look, she didn't just wake up and become a mixed martial artist. She was a Muay Thai fighter for many years. She took losses there. You know, like she's an experienced professional. She's in a big gym where this happens quite often. So sometimes you feed off your teammates and your coaches and your own previous past. And that's the disappointing with that is how do you let yourself get to that point in your life that you just lose that grip of reality? So I'm not digging it too much, man. I just wish she could have offered her advice and say, hey, I was in there. I'm looking at the numbers. I felt like I won.
But enough to make you drop off as a fan?
No, not to
I
make
just
me
look at
drop
it
off
as,
a fan.
hey, that's
just,
weird, but then I kind of move on.
No, not to drop me off as a fan, but, you know, it does make me – it just disappoints me. That's all. You know, I guess she won me over quite a bit. So the fact that she's acting that way, I guess, is just – I don't know. I just wish she wouldn't.
I guess I kind of look at it like Chael Sonnen. Like, whatever he says, it's kind of funny, but he's been like that for a long time. So I just kind of brush it off. I don't know.
But Chael, once in a while, kind of tells you, man, I'm just having a goof. You know?
That's true.
And whereas Joanna doesn't.
I think I just fall in the middle of you guys. I'm just like, if this was a movie, you know those movies with the part where the character, they do something and they mess up in front of the boss and you go, ooh, you maybe not you, but at least me, I cringe for the character. That's how I feel when I see fighters do this. It's not so much that it offends me. I cringe for them because I just know that what it looks like, what it is, and what that usually is going to cause. So that's my answer.
There you have it, brother. Thanks for the call, Rick.
Yeah, no problem, guys.
We'll see it. Let's go to Gage in Fort Myers, Florida. What's up, Gage? How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Good, sir.
Good. I just got a couple questions for y'all. First of all, actually, I want to put my opinion or pick out there right now for this weekend's fight. I think Kevin Lee's going to win the same way he beat Chiesa. Just throw that out there quick. And another thing, I heard Brendan Schaub this morning talking about on his Below the Belt podcast about judges again. When do you guys, or if you ever think that we're going to have ex-MMA fighters becoming judges to score these fights a little bit better? Is that a little out of the question, or do you think that's actually possible in a few years?
I don't think it works.
Man.
Go ahead, Goes.
Well, it's funny because we had this conversation, but now that I think about it, we had it off air, right, Dan? I think this was on Monday.
Yeah, we did,
somebody came in here and asked us that exact same question. And you would think that has a really good recipe to get success, but really when you break it down, what I told this gentleman was I just don't see it happening just because, like, you take a guy like Ricardo Almeida, right? He's done that before. And I guess what some people will say, I guess what I'm getting at is there will always be holes to poke, right? You can look at a fight and say that Ricardo judged, and you could say, well, he's a jiu-jitsu guy, and that's why he scored that fight that way, you know, or
he's
a wrestling guy, or
he's
a
a Brazilian.
guy. Yeah, or he's
an East Coaster.
Or if somebody can even point to a day when, let's just say, Jim Miller was in that gym. Oh, those guys are boys. That's why he did that.
They've trained together.
So that's why it's
they
really
share the
difficult.
same management. There's so many alliances out there.
Yep.
And look, not to pick on her because I enjoy her. She's very entertaining on Twitter, and the interviews she's given us have been really fun. But it's the most freshest in my mind. Angela Hill was saying that Wilson Hayes got robbed the other night. You could argue that Wilson Hayes may have pulled it out. I think most people will tell you out of 10, there's 8 of us here that think Moraga won. But let's just say you find 2 that say Hayes won, and therefore those were the 2 judges that made the difference. All right, we all move on with our lives. But in no way was that a robbery. So, again, you're just going to get so many biases from fighters as well. Now, that doesn't mean all fighters. There's some that have been able to break through and prove it. But what you need to get through is kind of like a generation gap. To pull yourself away from everything you were all about, all the gyms you ever trained at, all the coaches you ever trained for, and then I guess it would have to be all about your character, but what did Brendan Schaub say exactly?
I'm not 100%. I think he was commenting on the Watterson and Courtney Casey. Some people were saying that Courtney got robbed. And then he just was talking about judging in general, and my thought was ex-fighters might be good. Do you think it would be better than the boxing people they have in there now, or am I delusional?
I just don't think – I think it would improve on some fronts, but I think you'd still be stuck with the same thing. Judges making the wrong calls, or what's perceived to be the wrong calls by the majority of fans and media. So I don't know that it would improve. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing it and giving it a try, but I don't know that it's a cure-all. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Sorry, here's an idea I haven't heard. How about this, guys? I agree that the reason why you can't have MMA fighters, there's way too many biases. That before I pursued this, I even thought about maybe what about judging and ref, and I just the biases alone kind of turned me away from that. Not so much the knowledge aspect, of course, but what about this? At the end, I've seen this before. At the end of a fight, you have the judges rounded up with the commission members, and they have a meeting, and they go, "What did you see?" and this and that. Now, there's criticisms as to is anybody getting punishment? How are they really getting audited? Well, instead of being audited by another commission member, why don't we get the MMA fighter, kind of like what the caller's suggesting, except not as a judge? We have them as a coordinator in back. They have nothing to do with the outcomes. None of their biases will ever come into the play, but all their job is to do is to grade the judges. So since the judges are already being graded, this process already exists. Let's put an MMA fighter back there, and let's say Judge B, well, why did you score this? We have a 37. We keep seeing this, right? A 30-27 for the losing fighter in a split decision. Well, why is that? And if it comes down to, okay, this judge clearly didn't know the ground game. Well, we're treating this like a doctor. Here's your prescription slip, a couple jiu-jitsu classes, this and that, before you can come back and ref your next event or call your next event, judge your next event. Then when you come back and judge that next event, we're going to again sit down with you with the auditing process to make sure you understood and there was improvements from your last time out.
Yeah,
I'd be in a suggestion like that.
Here's the other thing: is yesterday we spoke about this. Eras are important, right? And right now we're still in an era where a lot of these judges come from a boxing background, where they said, "Man, I used to work, once a month doing boxing, but now I can work every weekend doing MMA." After a while, those people will get phased out, and you'll get judges that actually came in because they love mixed martial arts, and that's why they came in. Not people that came in because of boxing and then learned mixed martial arts on the fly. So I think judging will improve throughout the years, but, I mean, there's always going to be holes to poke.
Right. Great question, Gage. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. We've got to move on.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
All right, you too. Hal from Chicago. What's up, Hal? How you doing?
Hey, I got time to put my feet up. Got some time here?
Yeah.
Yep.
Got 50, been a whole going on 50 minutes, which, it's not that bad when you got quality shows. Daniel Straus, he's the man. And, I got to hear Dan talk for 5 minutes about his favorite soccer team, which doesn't exist. So that was good. And maybe you want to tell Danny, Dan, you had your one fight, right? What was your walkout song? Was it Ramble On by Led Zeppelin? Okay,
close.
Maybe you want to tell Danny I am a Hall of Famer, some of you may know, and I have this very exotic bracelet made by Yancy. So bracelets, go first, Danny.
So I guess Hal's done with his call.
Hey, you know what, Hal?
We got
Danny,
Showtime.
Danny didn't really rank
4.
you guys. I was just bullshitting there, but that was a good roast.
Spitting venom in here, huh?
Yeah.
I felt like we didn't have his table ready at his normal spot.
He's spitting venom in every direction. Soak some up.
Well, next is Habib. This is the start of the Habib era, and people talk about his wrestling, and it is awesome. But if you look around the lightweight division, there's not a lot of guys that can really, that wrestle, that grapple. If you look at welterweight, you see guys like Woodley, Covington, some really solid guys that would give a guy like Habib problems, I think, if they were in the same weight class. I wish that Jorge would move down, man. Just give up the Big Macs and just go to lightweight, because I feel like it would take a guy like him to beat Habib. He's a solid takedown defense, great grappler himself. Ferguson as well. Ferguson, Kevin Lee, but Kevin Lee tends to crumble under pressure. But he's also a solid wrestler in the 155 division. But I think who's going to be the guy? He's going to go on an awesome run, and it's going to be Islam Makhachev. He's like 3-1 after he got knocked out by Adrian Martins. He went on a 3-fight winning streak, and he's beat some solid guys. Just beat my doppelganger, Gleison Tebow. That was hard to watch. But Makhachev, got the first name Islam right there, is going to throw Habib off, because I know he gets a kick out of beating these Gentiles. You know what I mean? And he's laughing at us. He calls himself the Eagle. That's like he's rubbing it in our American faces. Trust me on this. So it's probably going to be Makhachev, but, maybe Kevin Lee can do it. All right. Talk to you guys later.
We'll see you, Hal. Well, the problem is they're training partners. And if you've ever seen a Habib picture after training, Those guys couldn't be any more homies. They're draped all over each other.
They're on mountains together. There's like 20, 30 of them.
So it'd be like saying, I think Artem has a shot at Connor. I mean, they're just boys. You know what I mean? They're never really gonna fight. But yes, I think what Al showed was if you can stop some of those takedowns or get up from some of those takedowns and put yourself back into a contest where there's more striking, to worry about from Khabib versus his ground and pound, then yeah. So you'd have to look at who wrestled. Just start off with who wrestled. Simple question. Kevin did wrestle. Tony did wrestle. Al wrestled. Chandler, if he does wind up in the UFC, wrestled. Eddie Alvarez wrestled, but he didn't wrestle in college. He wrestled in high school, but he does have, I guess, a wrestling background. And it doesn't mean that's where the list ends. I mean, like Dan noted, Edson also had some, he was able to have a little bit of success in stopping some of the takedowns. You're not going to stop them all. You want to stop some of them,
I mean, Gagey, but he doesn't use it.
Gagey, yeah.
Yeah.
You saw how difficult. I mean, he was not getting taken down by Poirier, but Poirier wasn't offering the most, technical offensive wrestling either. But you could just tell that those instincts just don't, Gagey has them, and so he's not going to be an easy guy to stop either. You gotta match him a little bit with the technique. You just got to match him a little bit with the strength as well. It's where Khabib's really going to get scary is if he can ever become one of those types of wrestlers like GSP, where he just gets you more off timing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Think about all the wrestlers. John Fitch wrestled. Josh Koscheck wrestled. Not only Josh Koscheck wrestled, he was a Division I champion. Frank Trigg, Matt Hughes. And the reason those guys couldn't stop him is because they got lifted off their feet, and GSP just exploded. His was a lot to do with timing, and if somebody like Khabib can get that down in addition to everything else, he could be a beast. But regardless,
I was gonna say I don't sound crazy, but I think there's plenty of people that can beat Khabib. And that's not disrespecting Khabib at all. I love Khabib's game, but I've been saying it before, and I'll say it again. As far as like a ranking goes, I would say I'd rank it like this. I think Poirier should be at the next shot. Obviously, we discussed that yesterday, but Eddie is the guy that I think would be closest to beating him as far as ranking. Realistically, who could be fighting him next? Kevin Lee, I think, has a bad matchup for Khabib. I think Kevin. That's why Kevin's been calling him out, and very smart of Kevin.
Right.
He saw that early. He's like, oh, let me get the guy that nobody wants to fight because I'm a bad matchup for him. That's why Kevin's been at that train. So he knows that pathway is there.
Because he knows that even though he's not the best striker out there, he can outstrike Khabib.
Right.
And he's got tools to stop Khabib. And should there be any form of a scramble, man, that's where Kevin's a beast.
Yes,
and
yeah.
Imagine him
100%.
testing Khabib's.
Because Khabib can be taken down. I think we had someone on here. Was it a guest yesterday's show? A fighter saying no one's. I would take him down. Was it Chandler? Chandler was saying that because, and I love that I pointed that out because I'm like, no one talks about that. Thank you. Like we have not seen a guy take him down, and when they have, they were able to like Abel Trujillo has. So that's definitely there. And I will. This could be upsetting because especially since I just went and said Poirier should get the next title shot. But I would probably put the round out that top 3 of who could realistically beat Khabib next. I would actually put Conor in front of Poirier because say what you will about Conor, his pull to even get the fight in the first place, but B, stylistically, I'm the guy that picked Michael Johnson to beat Khabib because he was a southpaw who had underrated counter wrestling and a great counter shot. So if I'm going to pick Michael Johnson to beat Khabib based on that on paper, how can I not pick Conor McGregor? To beat Khabib. Now, do I think I would pick him? That's tough because now that Khabib has improved since that Michael Johnson fight, and Conor's been out. So now that's different. Obviously, Khabib should be favored there. But I'm just playing devil's advocate for people out there. There are pathways, multiple different ones.
I would say Poirier and Conor would struggle with Khabib.
The wrestling, because the wrestling,
yeah, they would. I'm not saying they would lose. I'm just saying they would struggle. And the fact is, Khabib hasn't lost, so it could lead to a loss just because they, they're. It's not that they're not strong. It's not that they're not athletic. It's just those instincts. You know what I mean? I want to take Showtime's call, but I also want to talk about one thing that we just didn't talk about for some reason. It was Joe Rogan's call of Khabib's rounds 3 and 4. That I heard on my way home when I was listening to MMA Tonight. R.J. Clifford was really adamant that Joe was out of line. in his call, and I disagree. And I wanted to call in, but him and AJ were having such a great discussion that I thought, no, I'm just going to let them discuss it. I'm not just going to invite myself to the show. But I understood, and this goes for not just RJ, but a lot of people really came at Rogan to the point where Rogan felt like he had to put out an apology. And here's what happened. This is how I saw it.
Okay.
I think what I believe Rogan was saying was, we have put Khabib on this high pedestal, rightfully so.
Yeah.
Never lost a fight. Could argue he's never lost a round, and if he has, you can count him on one hand. However, a guy who didn't train for Khabib or didn't train for 5 rounds, after a while had a little bit of success because of his background. And once he got to that background, he was able to show that Khabib, as a kickboxer, Mike Swick's another guy I'm going to disagree with because I've heard his podcast as well. Khabib showed a striking stance, which we know that a lot of Eastern Europeans, they'll show, especially someone coming from wrestling. As has been noted before, even Conor can stick his chin out at times. But Khabib just looked like, wow, he could get tagged, and this whole 26-0 could go away. That's all Joe Rogan was saying, in my opinion, was like, wow, if you can stop this and get him to strike, boy, that chin's out there. It could get touched by someone. Now, Al couldn't do it anymore because Al, he has power. He doesn't have the greatest power or the greatest speed, but his arms were just they were done after all of the
early wrestling,
and getting up, and the fact that was just a big moment. You could just tell he didn't have it. When he did throw, there was something there, but it wasn't as much pepper. I would even argue Khabib was throwing harder. I was telling Goes, if Al and Ray have ever just worked on a good counter left hook and has good timing, you don't need as much power. Maybe you can put Khabib down. That's all Joe was saying. Joe wasn't really critiquing him as if to say, don't put him in glory because he's not going to do well. No, he wasn't saying that. He was just saying, wow, if you can get it to this point, there's a path to victory here. Just because Khabib's striking really isn't, it still needs some work.
This may not be a popular opinion, but I thought it was obvious that Khabib, to me, looked like he took his foot off the gas. I think he realized that Al didn't have much.
Saying.
So I just
saying
think
he was just gaining time.
Yeah, I think he was just playing around.
Do you
trying
do
to
that
put
though?
On
When you're about to become a world champion, do you?
If it were a different situation, I think that's how confident he is, though. I think
Yeah.
if there were a different situation where he knew the other guy had trained for
Right.
5 rounds and all that, I think he would have seen a different Khabib. So I just kind of looked at it as cool. The guy's taking a few chances trying to put on a show, but I think deep down inside he knew he could maybe not finish the fight when he wanted to, but get it to where he needed to be finish the fight when he wanted to.
Do you remember Carolina and Felice's fight?
Yeah.
All right. Pretty much Carolina was in control, right? And she was on her way to victory. But do you remember when Felice did catch her with one punch, and even Carolina said, that's the hardest I've ever been hit?
Yeah.
I think that's what Joe was saying, was if Al can muster either one good punch or just catch him, not looking, and that chin's out, this whole 26-0, this whole I'm cruising to a victory, it could all just go like that. And so I think Joe was actually probably questioning, okay, you probably have a lot of confidence, I'll give you that, but he's also saying, is your fight IQ coming down as well when it shouldn't be, when you should just
he's just taking chances.
Could be, man, but I side with Joe on this one, and I felt the other guys were just being a little harsh, especially because they weren't seeing it from, I think, the point Joe was going to say. You want to say anything in close?
Yeah. I take Khabib at his word for one. I still can't weigh in completely because I didn't go back and watch it with the schedule. I got to turn the page and go to the next event. But what I think you laid it out great, because Rogan does that, and the commentators should do that to a certain extent. But it's tough because you have to balance it out. You're kind of there for analysis. Now, kind of on his point, I was just watching a fight called by Dominic Cruz in D.C. the other day, and they were saying the fight was really close when really it wasn't close at all. And people were like, what fight are they watching? This is like a unanimous decision or a 29-28. And they're like, oh, it's anybody's fight. And you see that a lot. Is it because the commentators are bad? No, the commentators aren't bad at all. But I think what happens is a lot of times you get caught and you're trying to be fair, because even if you're calling the action, you want to call the action correctly, but you don't want to call it too one-sidedly, even if it's a one-sided action. That's why you'll hear the commentator, even if the guy's getting beat up, oh, but the hard on this guy, yeah, it's not going as well way tonight. And they're filling commentary. They're balancing out the narrative. And you can get caught up into that game where you're maybe playing too much narrative and not enough analysis. So people are calling Rogan out on the analysis, saying he's being too harsh, but they're not seeing what the point George is making, the narrative. But it's a weird balance. Yes, and am I saying that Rogan went too far or didn't? I can't say. Commentators have the best ones have crossed that line. It's the same thing with my breakdowns, guys. I can talk here about Khabib. Oh yeah, he's got vulnerabilities, but when it comes to the breakdown, I gotta stick to the facts. I can't make up facts. I have to, those facts are gonna suggest my pick. So it's again just kind of that balance of what's analysis and what's kind of hyperbole, what's talk, what's conjecture, what's what we're doing here.
Yeah.
It's a weird balance they have to do. So I think we have to kind of cut him some slack a little bit.
I also believe the announcers may be in a landslide type of fight. I think they're also letting you know, hey, don't turn off the TV, or
anything can happen.
Yeah, anything can happen in
true,
this
very
sport.
true.
What happens in every sport.
Let's talk
very
to
true.
Showtime in Tennessee. What's up, Showtime? It's your time. Showtime from Tennessee.
Hey, what's going
How
on,
you
fellas?
doing?
What up?
Good. How about you?
I'm doing great, man. Just glad to be easing back in my city, man. I was in upstate New York. It was cold as hell and snowy and wet. So I'm glad to be back in warm, sunny Tennessee.
Right on, my man.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to comment on you guys talking about Joanna earlier and about her being delusional. Shit, I actually agree with how she felt. I thought she won the fight. So I don't see why she would be delusional by saying she felt like she won. That's just having confidence. Everybody get on a fighter like Ronda that won't say shit after she loses, and you basically got somebody telling you how they feel. It's almost like you damn if you do, damn if you don't. This aspect of it, but I have no problem at all with what she said about the fight. I mean, I don't think people took into effect the leg kicks that she was doing. I mean, I scored him. It was a close fight. No way Rose won 30-27. No way. I mean, come on.
Well,
but I think we gotta lay up off these fighters. I mean, we get on them.
Really, really nice. If I were to tell you, I'm going to buy you another one identical to it, or I'm going to take away the one you got, and here's how we're going to do it. We actually have audio of after the fight, and it turns out Rose's coaches were mic'd up. Do you really believe that she told, or one of them told, and one of them's Pat Barry and the other one's Trevor Whitman, there may have been another one. Do you really believe one of those told Joanna that they thought she won? And remember, your house is at stake. You're either going to get a second house, or we're going to take the nice one you have away.
That's a good one. I mean, I don't think that they would. So
that's
what
I'm saying. And so that's what made people roll their eyes. Like, I don't mind if Joanna goes, man, I thought I won. And you know what? She actually had nice backup because she did have some really, really good numbers, to point to. But as we all know, it doesn't matter if you're still losing 10-9s in certain rounds, because you could have 2 rounds where you just really, really pour it on someone. But if you lost the other 3, then whatever. But it's when she says that. It's when she says, I'm still a champion. It's when she says, bow down to me. That's where people were like, well, Joanna, man, we're with you, but you lost that one. You lost that one, girl. Go back to Poland. Have a nice vacation. You're still a badass. You're one of the best champions ever. Come back. Start whooping ass again, and we're right there with you. You know what I mean? But at some point when she's just kind of like, when she kind of pushes it a little bit too far, which is I think what she's doing, and that's what's turning people off, that's where, you lose me at least.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, man. I'm going to tell you this, though. I want to see Andrade and Rose. That's what I want to see now. I think that's going to be a hell of a fight.
That's going to be a great
I
fight.
think,
and I think early on, I might like Andrade. How about you?
Yeah, man, it's going to be funny. We're going to see the champion as underdog again, I think.
How about you?
I would go with her. I would actually, if Carla got a shot, I'd probably go Carla too as well. Like I just feel like,
or maybe
I don't know
Claudia.
if those things have been.
It's a matchup thing.
It's a matchup thing.
Right, and so those are the girls that Joanna's been able to wax. So Joanna can do 25, try 25, see what happens, and then come back and play the 15 card because she's already beaten a few of those. Carolina's already got a win over Rose. And I think Claudia would be very competitive against Rose. So if she's really, really not too far away from being able to strike and being able to, go out there and be back where she needs to be. Showtime, thanks for the call. We got to move on, bro.
All right, guys.
All right, see you, my man. All right, it is time for the Daily Debate, and it's brought to you by the MMA Junkie Radio crew. And don't forget, your chance to vote happens every morning We'll do our best to retweet, but you want to get in there around 8 Eastern time as we leave up the poll slowly into the first hour of the show. So 964 of you voted, and I'll give the results in just a sec. But here's the question. With Bellator 198 quickly approaching, what's your early prediction for the Fedor Emelianenko versus Frank Mir heavyweight headliner? Dan Tom, you go first.
Well, without even looking at the results, I got to imagine by stoppage on either side has to be the answer because this feels like a gunfight. As much as I love Fedor, though, I gotta be siding with Frank Mir here. I think he just has more ways to win. There's a layoff that's going to be huge, but for heavyweights, for veterans like himself who has had layoffs and had adversity, I think he gets past it and gets past Fedor.
I would agree. Fedor in the past had a distinct advantage if the fight remains standing, and as we've seen, a lot of guys outstrike him. He's older, he's taking some vicious KOs, and he recently took a vicious KO. While Frank Mir, as he was serving a suspension, guess what? He wasn't taking that type of damage. And also, when the fight hits the ground, Frank just has, exceptional. Really, really good Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and I think he can threaten there, either ground and pounding or going for submission. So I think Mir is my pick to win the fight, and if you say decision or stoppage, I'd go with stoppage because I think Mir's also developed hands. That's my pick. How about you guys?
I think we're going to see a different Fedor Emelianenko in this fight. I think when he would come back a few years ago and just take a fight here and there, I think it was a different mindset. I think now that he's been training continuously, I think he'll give Frank Mir a better matchup than we all expect. However, part of what made him so successful, he was one of the greatest fighters of all time, but I think part of it was just kind of like that Mike Tyson aura. Holy shit, that's Fedor in front of me. And I think that slipped away. And I thought that was one of his biggest weapons. I think that's gone, especially with a veteran like Frank Mir. I think I'm going to go with Frank Mir by stoppage.
Yeah, we all picked the same. And you know what? It's in agreement with what Junkie Nation thought. The results are Frank Mir via stoppage 44%. However, Fedor Emelianenko via stoppage comes in at number 2 at 34%. And I think we'd all agree, hell, if you are going to beat Frank Mir, you're probably going to stop him. I just don't see this fight going to the distance. And then equally, Emelianenko via decision and Mir via decision was 11%. So, all right, there you have it, folks. That is the daily debate for today. And now we got to take our final break. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Stay close. We'll be back with Yancy Medeiros, UFC welterweight.
Better, faster, stronger. That don't kill me, can only make me stronger. I need you to hurry up now.
They taught Andy Griffith how to whistle. Here are Gorgeous George and Goes.
The SEC now is a 24/7 home on SiriusXM. Hear from hosts like Peter Burns, Chris Childers, and more on SiriusXM SEC Radio, channel 374, and on the SiriusXM app. All right, our last guest of the day, his name is Yancy Medeiros. He is a UFC welterweight who has just signed on to fight at UFC 226 versus Mike Perry. Man, that's going to be a great card, and you know what? Great cards deserve great fighters. That's what Yancy Medeiros is. He joins us now on the hotline. What's up, Yancy? How you doing?
What's up, brothers? Aloha.
Aloha. Hey, you know what? When that fight announcement was made yesterday, I was talking to some friends of mine that are casual friends or casual fans of the sport. And I go,
yeah.
Yancy's fighting. Yancy Medeiros is fighting. Guess who? And my buddy told me, man, I don't give a shit. That guy, whoever he fights, it's going to be an exciting fight no matter what. You know what that tells me, Yancy, is you've just reached that point, man, where you know, a lot of fans are in. They're all in on Yancy Medeiros because of these performances you've been giving us.
That's appreciated. That's like, I'm glad you're entertained, man. You know, like I know I'm a fighter, I'm a martial artist, but I'm there to entertain. Like, you know, you don't pay all that money to watch someone hold you down and just not do nothing. You know, they're looking for knockouts and finishes, and most definitely always trying to give that to the fans.
Yeah. I thought to myself, I go, really? You don't want to hear the opponent? Because, you know, Mike Perry's going to come to dance. He's going to be a nice dance partner, but they're like, nah, man, I'm all in on that Hawaiian. I think that fight out in Detroit was just the one that put you over. You know what I mean? It's funny how it can either be a sequence of fights or it can be a punch. You know, like Anthony Pettis and that kick he had at WEC or whatever, or Dan Henderson when he laid out Bisping, or sometimes it's just a round or a fight. Hell, I think Rogan called it the best round he's ever seen, you and Oliveira, round one.
The one I was blocking all those punches with my face? Yeah. Yeah, man. I you know, I got that. Like, you know, I know the ref's there to watch for my safety, so I'll die. And you know, instinctually, I'm like, I'll die before I quit and give up. You know, like that's why the ref's there.
Are you one of those guys that?
It was.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish.
No. What was that?
I was gonna say, are you one of those guys that, you like to hear, you know, hey, these are the three names they're throwing your way, or do you let them decide? Because I feel like you've kind of gained a little bit of stature now with the company, and you know, you are going to put on an entertaining fight. There's a reason you're on UFC 226. They don't want that card to suck. They have a quality main event, but they also want to stack it. You know what I mean? So do you feel like you had a say a little bit in the Mike Perry booking, or did they just come to you with it?
No, they came to my you know, Sean Shelby works with it, and he just came to my manager. We went through renegotiations after renegotiating my contract, and he came with that fight. And every time I I don't care who it is, I just say yes and I sign the contract. You know, like that's all I do. Like they give me names, and for me it's like, yeah, I wanna fight certain like get to a higher rank, but it's like, man, I just came off a loss. I don't give a damn who they put in front of me. I'm gonna do me, and I'm gonna take this fight. So Mike Perry was the first in line, I guess, and all I said was yes. Give him the contract.
Tell us about the new contract, whatever you would like to divulge. Were you happy with the number that they gave you? Was it a long negotiation, or was it pretty easy?
I let my manager deal with that. I have a great relationship with him, and I feel it was all right. You know, like I feel like all the fighters deserve way more than we're getting, but from the raise I got and the period, I feel like, you know, it's better than what I had, and it's not what I wanted, but it's better than I had. I'm just fucking trying to make the best out of the situation. If I keep winning, I'll make more money. That's the end product.
Yancy Medeiros, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. He will be fighting at UFC 226 versus Mike Perry, and that is on the same card headline by Stipe Miocic and Daniel Cormier. That is International Fight Week. There's a tough finale. There's the pay-per-view. There's the Hall of Fame ceremony. Folks, you got to get down to Las Vegas. It's a great time to be an MMA fan and coming out and supporting. That's really the best week of the year. All right, Goes, what do you have for Yancy Medeiros?
Yancy, I know you said that when you get the name, the contract, you sign. But what about the fact that this fight's in Vegas and you're undefeated in Vegas? Is there anything to that?
That's a great point. I never took into that. I like that. Thank you. I just now, I told after I went to Brazil and I went to Detroit, you know, and then I took that quick notice fight. I took that fast notice fight in February. I was like, I want something more domestic. I was aiming for, you know, Hawaii. I really wanted to. I wanted that to happen, but you know, they couldn't make that happen, so they put the Hawaiian on the 9th island.
There you go. Now look, that fight with Oliveira was early December. Then you come back and do it right away in February, and then you get in your last fight. You know, like how much of a turnaround will there be between this next fight and one after that? It feels like you're not taking any breaks, man. Like, what do you do for fun in between these fights?
Man, you know, like I have a great family and I have great friends, and you know that I just went on vacation after my fight. I went to Thailand for a week or so, and you know I decompressed. And I came home and I'm like, shit, man, I want to do this for the rest of my life. I better get back to work, you know. So I just jumped right back in and I just started staying ready, started staying steady, working on all my weaknesses. And I just got this notice, and I just was like, yeah, I think July, 12 weeks out, 11 and a half weeks out for a fight for me is great. I'm trying to stay consistent and stay relevant in this, and you know, make money. I fought in February. I want to get 2 more fights in, maybe 3 if I can, if everything goes great. I just want to stay active. And you know, I feel after my last bout, you know, I made making a lot of adjustments, not necessarily to be more defensive, but I mean utilize the best of Yancy Medeiros.
Yancy Medeiros, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. 15 wins overall, 12 finishes, 3-1 as a welterweight since he's moved up. And they'll be fighting Mike Perry in July. All right, Dan Tom, what do you have for Yancy Medeiros?
Hey, how's it, Yance? So when I see this card, man, this is like the golden ticket being on this fight card. And when I see the matchup with you and Perry, to me it screams either obviously pay-per-view, but more so the fight you put to kick off the pay-per-view, or I could see them maybe doing one of those things where they put you on FS1 headlining the prelims. Is it like I know Kea for you, man? Do you not care for that, or do you just put you wherever on the card and you'll be happy? You're just there to fight?
Yeah, I mean, like, for me, ever since the whole Reebok thing came into deal, the whole sponsorship stuff just got whack, and that was the biggest thing of placement. You know, if you're on that or wherever. Now I'm like, shit, I want to fight early. I like fighting early so I can enjoy the rest of the fights. You know, you put me, but I don't. For me, I don't care what a fight is. Like I like early fights. I like to fight early, get it over with, enjoy the rest of the night. But I'm gonna turn up whenever they put me on. Usually they've been putting me on the pay-per-view openers, but I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind getting more on the Fox card because I feel like I'll get more views as a fighter for me compared to all the champions that are gonna make money from the pay-per-views. I think, you know, if I'm on the Fox card, not everybody over here is going to buy pay-per-view, but everybody's going to watch a free UFC fight.
Yep.
There's going to be way more viewers on that. And, you know, that's what I noticed, and that's what I've seen, and that's what I feel like Sean Shelby did for me in my last fight with Oliveira.
Yeah, no.
You know, like he put me on the Fox card. And, you know, it was great. That was great. It was great publicity for me, great advertisement, and it's like, I'm trying to get out there. I'm trying to be marketable. I'm trying to be an asset and investment to the company, and if they want to make these moves to make me make more money, then please, I'm there.
Yeah, and like George said, you know, that fight with Oliveira puts you over, so to speak, and you can only further put yourself over with this spot no matter where they put you. But let's speak more about the fight, because the fight comes first, obviously. I like what you said about maybe not necessarily going defensive and changing the whole landscape, but utilizing the best Yancy Medeiros without giving too much away tactically or any game plans, Yancy. Can you talk more about those adjustments and how those adjustments will play when you're facing an aggressive guy like Mike Perry?
I feel like, you know, I talked to my coaches as soon as I got the notice, and all of them are down. Like, they all believe in me. They all feel like, you know, I train with Max. When I go to Cali, I train with Nick, Nate, Gilbert. I train with all these badass fighters and athletes and martial artists. And my coach is like, man, Yance, you're so well-rounded. Like, you get dropped every fight, and they still can't finish you on the ground. You know what I mean? I'm like, why the fuck am I not utilizing my ground when I'm coherent, not when I'm fucking trying to survive, you know? And, like, I feel like I have great jiu-jitsu, enough to not win, but not lose either. You know, I got decent jiu-jitsu. I roll with Nick and Nate, Crone Gracie. I roll with all these high-end jiu-jitsu guys, and you know, I feel like I'm very confident there. My jiu-jitsu coach is like, Yancy, like, you know, I want you to be utilizing everything you do. Like, they want to see me fight. They want to see the Yancy in the gym, not the crowd pleaser that wants to just get in there and bang. You know, they want to see more. They want me to show my technicality and how good I am in that gym. And I'm just, you know, I'm very, I guess when it comes to fighting, you know, I get a bit emotional. Like my last fight, I felt like I had Cowboy on the back step, so I just kept staying in his face. Then I didn't see that one punch, and you know, that was the end of the fight. And I felt like I could continue, but Herb didn't, and it is what it is. And for me, it's like, okay, I gotta make my adjustments. Like I wanna make all these. I wanna look good. I wanna press. I wanna be entertaining. That's the biggest thing, to be entertaining. This is a business of entertainment, and the crowd. I hate when the crowd boo. It irks me. You know what I mean? Like, why are you booing? I'm over here trying to fight my life off for you. I'm gonna do it, and the crowd's gonna know that I appreciate their support, and I'm trying to give back to them.
Yeah, man, those days are long gone. No one's booing while you're fighting, brother. I've seen it. Cannot wait for this fight with Mike Perry. And now that I think about it, I think you're right. I may want to see this on Fox Sports 1 because it's going to sell more pay-per-views. It's going to be a great lead-in to the pay-per-view. But if they put him as the first fight on pay-per-view, that is a nice starter as well, man. So regardless, I hope you have a safe camp, and we'll see you in Vegas when you come out. Hopefully you can do a catch-up and you can tell us how your preparations were for UFC 226.
Oh, most definitely. I always make time for you, brother. I'll bring the chocolate.
All right. Thanks, Yancy. Take care, my man. Aloha.
Right on.
All right.
Take care, guys.
See ya.
Aloha.
Yeah, Yancy Medeiros, one of the funnest guys to cover in the sport. He goes after it, man, and he brings the best out of his opponents as well. Really, really become a huge fan of that guy.
Hard to believe he was so big before, huh?
Huh?
Hard to believe he was so big before.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
He was like a light heavyweight.
Oh, yeah.
Joe
yeah,
Riggs
no
too.
doubt. I thought you meant as a lightweight because he was big as a lightweight, but now he's just settled in.
Yep.
All right, folks, we're going to take this last break. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Stay close. We'll be right back to close up shop.
Habib's hair count?
I haven't read it yet, so what are they saying?
Like a fashion accessory.
Good. It's called a hat. A lot of people call it a wig, but it's a hat.
All right, guys, come back. Stand by.
Okay, Danny.
Crazy Horses Grill.
They can drink Mentos-flavored Diet Coke without their stomachs giving a single fuck. They are Gorgeous George and Goes. And this is MMA Junkie Radio.
Big shout out to Kate Price in our Facebook chat, as well as Gavin McCarran, Joshua Jimenez, Sonny Kaji, Jay DeMello, Alfonso Berry, David Hall. The list goes on and on. Really appreciate you guys' support. Tomorrow we'll look at the the YouTube chat, see who's in there. I keep forgetting to go back in there. I get a kick out of the comments going over it after the show. Love, hate, doesn't matter. As long as you're tuning in, we're down. Tomorrow, look, tonight is the debut of The Ultimate Fighter, Season 27. All undefeated fighters, coached by Stipe Miocic and Daniel Cormier, who will be fighting at UFC 226, as you just heard in our Yancy Medeiros interview. So it'll be interesting to see. You know, these athletes are undefeated, and you know, I'm sure they have, some of them have bright futures. So it'll be interesting to see how the dynamic is between the two coaches, and maybe there's a firecracker on each side, a Junie Browning or whatever that can maybe carry the show in terms of the drama that sometimes I look for. I don't know. I'm sure there'll be tough talk, so start adjusting your DVRs if you're into all that. I know I am. We'll be talking to The Ultimate Fighter every week. We'll talk to the winner on MMA Junkie Radio. So tomorrow we'll have the winner of that episode. We'll also have Brittany Palmer, UFC Octagon girl for many years, came over from the WEC and made quite a career out of you know, being a spokeswoman for the UFC. So good on her. Be a nice catch-up to have with her. Dylan Dennis, one of the top grapplers in the world, fighting at Bellator 198. He'll be on the show as well, possibly another guest or two. So keep an eye on the preview that goes up every morning at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Goes and Dan, we got about 30 seconds each, or 30 seconds. You have anything in closing?
Yes. Be kind to everyone.
And go Man U.
And go Man U.
How about you, Dan Tom?
Be kind, rewind, no red meat in movie theaters.
Be kind. What's the deal with be kind?
What do you
both said
being
it.
kind?
You both said be kind.
You gotta be kind in this world.
Okay.
So much negativity on social media.
How about you, Danny Elkers? What you got to say?
Be kind.
Be kind. Be kind.
Be kind, rewind.
Be kind, rewind, and watch my show tonight.
Popping off. That's right.
Yeah.
10 Eastern, 7 a.m. or 7 p.m. Pacific, right?
9 Eastern, 6
All right.
p.m. Pacific.
All right. We'll retweet it. The rest of you, be champions.